So when Muhammad started his prophecy to his people, to his fellow Meccans, he brought them all kinds of stories about Allah, who is in heaven, invisible. You cannot see him, you cannot hear him, because he is an abstract God. And he created the world in 7 days and created the woman from the rib of the man. And he told them about Adam and Eve in paradise and how they were kicked out because they ate the forbidden fruit. And he told them about Noah and the ark and the wicked people who got flooded in the flood. And about Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Ishmael and Joseph and his multicolor coat. And how their brothers threw him in the pit in the desert, how they sold him to Egypt and the affair with the lady, and Pharaoh and the Israelites and the desert, and about David and Solomon and Jesus and Johannes and all these stories. And they looked at him and they started to make fun out of him. What? This is what Allah told you? We know these stories already from the Jews and the Christians. These are all asatir al-awwalin, means the fables or the stories, the mices of the first ones, means the Jews and Christians. You are recycling what they told you. No, you are copy and paste. That's what you do. You know, those teachers know, among you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You copy and paste what Jews are saying from their books or from whatever they tell you, and you tell us their story. Okay, they mocked him and made fun out of him. It was very humiliating, very hurting for him, and he actually, his success in his hometown, in birthplace in Mecca, was very limited. Within 12 years of activity between 610 CE and 622, he succeeded to Islamize a handful of people, his wife and some others. Nothing more than this. The question is how he knew all these stories about from the Bible, from the Mishnah, from the Talmudim, from the Midrashim. The answer is very easy. He had a friend, a Jewish friend named Ka'b, who was actually a Yemenite guy who was apparently a rabbi in Yemen, and he ran away to Mecca, and he found asylum in the home of Muhammad, and he was the source of all these Jewish stories which are embedded in the Koran and in the Hadith. So they actually, that's what they Meccans accused him. He tried to convince them to behave in a better way, to stop worshipping idols and idolaters, to stop drinking wine, to stop burying the daughters alive. He actually dedicated a whole chapter in the Quran in order to stop the practice, because they couldn't feed so many girls, and girls are not fighters, so, and one woman can bring many kids, so why have so many daughters? So if a woman gave birth to a daughter, after a day or two, they would put her in a little pit in the desert, and the birds and the animals were eating them. And this was the Wa'ad al-Banat, and actually he was shouting against this dreadful practice. And of course he was accusing them for selling slaves, because slaves also were created by Allah. How come you are created, and how come you are selling another one who was created by Allah the same as you? And definitely it was very humiliating for those slaves, because they were put in the market, fully exposed, for the people to see the merchandise, whether they want them or not. So it was very humiliating, very hurting, and this was they were doing. And of course they were cheating in commerce and all these things. So he was trying to maybe have them behave in a better way. So they hated him, they tried to kill him. And after some attempts to kill him, he decided that Mecca is too dangerous, and he actually emigrated to Medina, which is to the north from Mecca. And there he became immediately a judge, because he doesn't know anybody, so he can be an honest judge. and then he became the mayor of his quarter, then mayor of the whole city, the ruler of the city, the commander of the army, and he became a master of the place. But he also tried to convert the people of Medina to Islam. In Medina, there was a big group of Jews named Bani Qurayza. This was the name, the sons of Qurayza. And he approached them. Actually, he sent Ka'b, his Jewish informant, his Jewish source, to the Jews of Medina in order to convince them to convert to Islam. But they have the original religion. Why should they convert to the copy of Judaism? They also understood that all he has is stories or mises which he got from Ka'b. So they did not convert. For a year and a half, he tried, and one of the attempts to convert them was by directing the prayer to the north, means to Jerusalem. Like telling them, hey guys, you pray to Jerusalem, I pray to Jerusalem, let's join and become together, one community, convert to Islam, we'll pray together to Jerusalem. They didn't buy it. And they refused. Apparently they mocked him as well. So he got very angry at them. So he burned their trees so they couldn't make business because they were living on dates. It didn't work, so he burned their homes. It didn't work, so he slaughtered them all. One day he slaughtered 800 men and took the women. One of his wives, Safiya, was Jewish, a Jewish girl who was engaged to one of the boys over there. And after this young man was slaughtered, she was a widow from engagement. He married her and consummated the marriage immediately in his tent. She was then like 13 years old. And since there were no more any Jews left in Medina, there was no point to pray towards Jerusalem because there is nobody to convert to Islam from those Jews. Afterwards, he slaughtered two other groups, the Banu Nadir and Banu Kainuka, and this is the end of Jewish presence in the Arab Peninsula until this very day. Since there was no presence of Jews in the Arab Peninsula, he doesn't have to pay to Jerusalem, and then the ayah, means the verse, descends upon him to direct the prayer down south to Medina, to Mecca. He sanctified Mecca, later he occupied it, purified it from all the idols, and turned his back to Jerusalem until this very day. This was, during his lifetime, his only connection to Jerusalem. This prayer to Jerusalem for a year and a half as an attempt to convert the Jews to Islam. Nothing more. He didn't get out from the Hijaz, from this area, throughout his life. However, in the first phase of his life, when he was still in Mecca, he had a group of followers in Taif, this town which is into the desert. This town is built on a big spring, which is there until this very day, and is very nice, very nice town in Saudi Arabia until today. He used to go there to Taif to encourage his community to convert more people and maybe to collect some support as well. The way to Taif from Mecca takes 2 days. 2 days walk, 2-day walk. And between every 2 days, there is a night. Until this very day. And at night, you don't want to stay out in the desert because you will be devoured. Either by 4-legged animals who will make you a kebab and your camel a shishlik, and you don't want it. Or 2-legged animals will catch you to sell you as a slave, and they will annex your camel to their fleet. And you don't want them as well. You have to stay overnight in a place protected by the people who live in that place as they protect themselves. And sure enough, according to Islamic sources, between Mecca and Taif, there was a village named Jirana, unknown today, And in this village, he used to spend the night on the way to Taif and the night on the way back, because the way back also takes 2 days. And in the morning, and this is according to Islamic sources, in the morning he used to pray in one of 2 mosques which they built near the village. One was closer to the village, so they named it the closer mosque. In Arabic, the Al-Masjid Al-Adna. The other one was further from the village, so they name it the further mosque. In Arabic, Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, the further mosque, the closer and the further. One morning, he wakes up in Mecca after a revelation descended upon him to the night. Revelation which appears in the Koran, chapter 17, verse 1, which says, "Glory to him," means Allah, "who took his servant at night." At night means in spite of all the dangers, those with 4 and those with 2 legs. Who took his servant at night from the holy mosque, which is Mecca, to the further mosque, which is near Jiran, which we, means the deity, which we blessed its surroundings, in order to show him our wonders, since he, means Allah, sees and hears everything. This is the verse in the Quran, chapter 17, verse 1. Glory to him who took his servant at night from the holy mosque to the further mosque, in order to show him our, which we blessed its surroundings, in order to show him our wonders, since he sees and hears everything. His followers understood it literally. They know exactly where the further mosque is. A whole day walk, and what a wonder! Allah took him during the night, in spite of all the dangers, all the way to Jirana, to the further mosque, and back, and the man wakes up in bed, safe and sound, and his wife swears that he didn't get out of bed through the whole night. What a wonder! Okay, this is the night dream. They didn't make any fuss out of it. They were used to his visions, and they continued their routine. He died in 632.